8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
I hit that like button just now, by the way.
17, 18. 18.
Wonderful.
So we're live. Hello, everybody. A little behind the scenes as I'm counting our new Rockfin subscribers. Well, not technically ours. They're through our link, but you guys get access to everybody's premium through Rockfin.
I'm sure Jordan has gotten the message loud and clear already. Spy dirty. Oh, what message?
What does that mean?
Wow. Oh, there's that. Oh, already the naysayers that I'm ass kissing. Look at that. Welcome. Status Coup in the house. Jen and I coming to you. I would say this is the dog days of summer, Jen. Wouldn't you say that?
Mm-hmm. What does that even mean? Like hot? Like it's just hot and a slog?
Well, in sports, it's kind of the dog days of summer. Like there's no football. Usually there's no basketball. There's only baseball.
Oh, I'm so sorry for you.
Yes.
What a loss.
Also in news, the corporate media.
But you should tell the people you're joining softball. Go ahead.
In news, the corporate media feels, this is kind of the time nothing's going on, even though we just showed there's plenty going on. They just don't want to cover it. But there is this special election coming up in Ohio, which we're going to talk about between Nina Turner. And it doesn't actually seem like Nina Turner is any longer running against a candidate per se. She's just running against the entire corporate Democratic establishment for this one district in Ohio. So we're going to get into that. We want to go through some of the reporting we did yesterday from Staten Island. We were live exclusively on Rockfin, and we're going to play some of that if you weren't able to see it yesterday.
It was so good. Like, what a great stream.
We did get 18 new Rockfin subscribers?
Fantastic.
So 18 new Rockfin subscribers between yesterday and today. As I told you yesterday on the short little teaser live stream, let me tell you something, folks. Rockfin is super important to Status Coup, not only because we like being on the platform and it gives us more freedom that this platform does not, but Rockfin is frankly guaranteed income for us. Without getting into details of our deal with them, we get guaranteed revenue every month. And if we get to 100 paid subscribers, that goes up even more. We're already at 49. And that's after 2 live streams, last week and yesterday. So as I told folks yesterday, completely understand for those that just, you're already a member to Status Coup or whatever, it's just not within your budget. Totally get it if you can't sign up as a Rockfin premium subscriber, but we really appreciate those that have been signing up as a Rockfin premium subscriber. You have to do it through our page, so that's rockfin.com/Status Coup. $9.99 a month, you get our weekly premium show as well as other hosts' premium show. So really, all we need now are another 51 of you, and then we hit another, like a really important milestone, because without getting into full details, it'll shoot up the amount of guaranteed revenue we make, which will help us go in the field. I mean, we've basically, the blessing of not taking corporate money and not being sellouts is you're free and liberated to do this the right way. The curse is there's not any real guaranteed revenue coming in every month. Yes, we've built our Status Coup membership. We're at 1,908 members. So on our march to 2,000. So that's steady, but YouTube revenue every month is high or low, more times low because of what they're doing. And other like super chats are different every month and those things. So basically Rockfin is a really major opportunity for us to expand, to make more money so that we could expand, hopefully bring on more people and cover things more in the field. So I hope you'll sign up, rockfin.com/Status Coup. We were live from the Amazon warehouse yesterday, which, boy, was the thunder and rain quite symbolic for what we were covering.
It sounded like it was really coming down. I also want to mention on the Rockfin tip that when you guys become a premium Rockfin subscriber, you also get access to everybody else's premium content too. So of course we're doing premium live streams, but folks like Jimmy Dore, if that's your thing, Ron Placone, Graham Elwood, And Ryan Grimm is now on the platform as well. So they're adding new people. And so when you are a premium subscriber, you get everybody. It's like it's a ticket to all. So join through our link because that counts. And we need a certain number in order to get like additional guaranteed income. And so obviously, to reiterate, our membership at statusquo.com/join is our main focus, but Rockfin is it's going to be good because there's no, they're not going to censor us. We can report what we actually need to report. So it's good all around. So if you have the means, join at rockfin.com/statusquo.
And smash that like button here. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see this live stream. Share this live stream if you can. So Jen, I interviewed Nina Turner when we were on our road trip. Got a lot of grief for it, I recall, for not, hammering over the head with a machete. We don't need to relitigate that because we already addressed people's complaints. But needless to say, this district...
Well, so like people who are like weren't watching that day or week or whatever, essentially Jordan had a very short amount of time and like people glaring because she was there for an event, so she had to go. So that's why people were like, why didn't you spend more time and ask like XYZ question? And so yeah.
Well, I took it more people were pissed off because she wasn't like ranting about the Democratic Party and Biden. That was
sure, there were two sets of complaints.
Yeah.
But that's,
so I don't really care if they thought I was soft. I could, whatever, I could take it. Like I said, I did have other questions lined up on Assange, on Israel Palestine, but I just didn't have time. They pulled her. But I'm looking at this race, and for those that don't know, recently Ryan Grimm reported at The Intercept that essentially Shontel Brown, who is her chief opponent, she's like the chairwoman of the Cuyahoga County City Council. This district in Ohio is the 11th district. It encompasses Cleveland and Akron. So Shontel Brown has been sending out, the Democratic Party, the Democratic Majority for Israel, a super PAC that went hard after Bernie before the Iowa caucus. And suddenly, apparently, there's major ramifications for Israel in Cleveland and Akron. Now they are on the air. They've already spent nearly $500,000. They've already spent nearly $500,000 in negative ads against Nina Turner. And, politics is politics. You expect lies and distortions. But these are like a whole different level, Jen. I mean, they're saying she's against universal health care when she's literally running ads for Medicare for all. They're saying she's against raising the minimum wage when there's like countless videos of her fighting for a $15 minimum wage. So they're just like blatantly lying and cynically hoping, just regular voters who aren't as plugged in to, plugged in like us, are going to get spooked by it and think like, oh, this Nina Turner is full of it and is against things for us. And some of the ads that I've seen are even kind of subtly trying to paint Nina as somehow like complicit in electing Donald Trump or emboldening Donald Trump. One of the ads that ran starts out with images of like the insurrectionists from January 6th. And they point out that, Nina said voting for Biden between Trump was, choosing, between a bowl of shit or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. So essentially, it's pretty much the playbook Hillary Clinton won and Joe Biden run. Like this Shontel Brown doesn't exactly have any accomplishments to run on per se. So they're just trying to make Nina Turner not a loyal Democrat and basically lie to voters and spook voters. But frankly, it's effective. The polls have tightened between Nina Turner and Shontel Brown. This after Hillary Clinton endorsed her. This after the establishment machete James Clyburn endorsed her. James Clyburn is now going to campaign with Shontel Brown this weekend. So again, to make a point, this isn't me saying this is like a Nina bro, but for all those who were calling Nina Turner a sellout and a fraud because she wasn't ranting against the Democratic Party in the interview we did, or she's not ranting against Biden and the Democratic Party on the campaign trail enough for your liking. Why do you think James Clyburn is going into Ohio this weekend? Why do you think the Democratic majority for Israel is so interested in this race? Why do you think Hillary Clinton endorsed in this race, other than, her obsessive hatred for Bernie Sanders and all things the Bernie movement? Why do you think, frankly, my gut, you're going to see other endorsements coming in, even bigger than Clyburn? My money's on Obama getting involved in this race and endorsing Nina Turner's opponent. Do you think maybe because they might feel, oh no, this is not going to be like AOC? This is not going to be like, Pramila Jayapal when she gets elected, that maybe this person might actually be a threat? Maybe this person might actually play hardball? Just a thought. But the news today, Jen, is Nina Turner's campaign announced AOC is coming to campaign, not this weekend, next weekend. I'm hearing that other progressives will be campaigning there as well towards the actual election, a little after AOC comes. I feel a little bittersweet about this because, regardless of our thoughts on AOC, and we've been very critical of her, it can't hurt. That's for sure. It certainly can't hurt, Jen, to have AOC come campaign for you.
No, it's a great move.
Sorry?
I said it's an absolutely wonderful, great move for her campaign to have AOC come.
Yeah, absolutely. But on the other end, and I'd love your thoughts, to me, I kind of see similar mistakes being made by Nina Turner's campaign that Bernie Sanders made, obviously on a different level, because one's national and one's in a district. I agree politically, taking off my reporter hat and just like strategy-wise, I think she's smart not to attack the Democratic Party, attack Biden. Again, I've gone through the numbers for the audience before, but this is a district that the Cleveland area went like by 30 points, 30% for Biden in the presidential election. Akron went 10 points to Biden over Trump. In the congressional race, Marcia Fudge, who was the congresswoman here and now is Housing and Urban Development Secretary, so that's why this seat is open, she won by 60 points. 60 points in the 2020 congressional race. So this is a vote blue no matter who district. Whoever wins the primary is going to win the seat because Republicans not going to win here. And this is not an electorate. This is not a YouTube electorate. They don't hate the Democratic Party like you and I do. They don't, think they like President Obama, those kind of things. But on issue by issue, they are more with Nina Turner than Shontel Brown. So I do think they're running a smart campaign as far as not going on the attack. But I think they are being way too passive with this all-out assault that's going on right now, between the ads saying she's not for universal health care, the ads saying she's not for raising the minimum wage, the ads that are subtly painting her as like a Trump, somebody who got Trump in. I think they're being way too passive in their response. And frankly, as I desperately wanted Bernie to do, where is the right hand to her campaign? Where is the attacks from Nina Turner's campaign on Shontel Brown? This whole idea, well, we're just going to run on the issues. We're just going to run, a positive campaign. That's nice. That generally does not work in politics. You have to have some of that and some of your vision, but you also have to know how to throw a punch. I don't see them defending themselves very strongly, and I don't see them throwing a punch that strongly, Jen.
Yeah, so it's hard for me to pick like point by point when you become monologue McGee, but I'll do my best.
Are you saying I talked to her?
Something, maybe I'm hinting at that. No, I think Nina is, this is a complicated like political race, and it's not complicated in that, Nina has to do certain things to win in her district. It's complicated, I think, for the online left to wrap its mind around, because for the online left, It's like you're either a fire breather 100% of the time, or you are a fraud and a sellout. But the reality is, the on the ground reality is, just as you said, Jordan, that her district is a certain way and votes a certain way. When you do break down the issues, as is true across the board for Democrats and left-leaning, like self-described left-leaning people, Bernie style, Nina style policies are exceptionally popular. So they agree with her on those things, but there's a real opportunity for the Shontel Brown crowd to smear her as, in the way that these folks do for someone like Susan Sarandon, like, oh, you helped elect Donald Trump, it's your fault. So it's easy for them to do that. So what Nina Turner has to do campaign-wise is different than what, she would do if she were running for like president of the Twitter extremely online left crowd. So
people are going to get triggered by this language.
That's okay. I speak my truth. So I think that's a complicated issue, but I think that she's doing a good job of staying focused on that and not getting lost in kind of like, oh, what's going on in this online space is the most meaningful thing. What's most meaningful for her, in her words, are those folks of the doors that she knocks on who need healthcare. So that's what she's focusing on. As far as her not like fighting back against the Shontel Browns of the world, well, not of the world, like against Shontel Brown and against these establishment figures who are boosting Shontel. Yeah, I think you do have a good point there. But strategically, I don't know at this point how hard I think she should go. I know that you have a different sort of view. Like you think, obviously, well, we both agree that Bernie should have gone much harder and fought more against Biden. But as far as what is good, like Nina Turner's ahead in her district, right? But how much wiggle room would she have, and how much risk would she have to kind of fall if a so-called attack went the wrong way?
So I have, I guess, a little bit more intel than you, just because I've been talking to people on the campaign. I've also talked to people outside of the campaign, but that are on the ground there. So a couple things. Number one, Shontel Brown, one of the reasons, besides the fact that the establishment wants to stop Nina Turner from getting a parking pass at the Capitol, much less becoming a congresswoman. Besides that, one of the reasons these big establishment figures are coming on is Shontel Brown is not well known in Cleveland and Akron. I mean, in a lot of these cases, I could tell you, a lot of voters don't even know there is a special election or that there is, when the congressional race is. So, everything I've been hearing is, to political party members and activists, she's known. But to the general electorate, Shontel Brown is not as well known as Nina Turner. That is why she was basically being crushed by Nina Turner in the early polls, which I think Nina was up over 30 points in early polls. So if the candidate is not known for anything, if the candidate does not have any name brand recognition, then the establishment's last resort is to bring in Hillary, James Clyburn, who I don't know if he has the same impact in Cleveland than he does in South Carolina, but whatever, a black party leader. With Clyburn this weekend, members of the Congressional Black Caucus are coming, which I'm not even going to get into my thoughts on the CBC because I'm a white dude, but plenty of black people have criticized the Congressional Black Caucus. But essentially, Shontel Brown cannot beat Nina Turner on her own because people don't know who she is. So that's number one. So my view is, okay, then it's really Nina Turner right now, as the dynamic is situated. It's really Nina Turner running against the Democratic establishment. Hillary Clinton's name, yes. James Clyburn's name. If Obama gets in, it would not surprise me if Pelosi endorses Shontel Brown soon. And the voters know those figures, and they don't hate them like we do. So what do you have to do? This is just plain old political strategy. You need to take it away from those people and put it on the opponent. And that really comes down to you got to throw some mud. I'm not saying the mud that Chantel Brown is throwing and just put up lies, but I've talked to people. I'm not reporting anything because I haven't investigated it myself, but I've heard plenty of things that Nina Turner's campaign could hit Chantel Brown with, including financial things that are not on the up and up. So to me, if you're Nina's campaign, yeah, great. You're running on the issues. You were doing well running on the issues, but now, as expected, the establishment strikes back. You know, what is that, Star Wars? The Empire Strikes Back. And look, I mean, the polls have tightened right now, according to a new internal poll. And take all of these with a grain of salt, because this is an internal poll from Brown's campaign. Her polls say Nina is up 43% to 36%. So that would be, what is that, 7? Yeah, 7%.
I don't do math.
Yeah, that's 7%. Well, Nina was up over 30. So in Nina's internal polls from a few months ago, she was up over 30. Now Brown is pushing that Nina's only up 7. Let's just split the difference. Let's say Nina's up 10, right? That might seem good, but there's still almost 3 weeks till this special election. And again, if Nina Turner is running a race, so on the air, digitally, if she's basically running a race to the voters' mind and the voters' view, not against Chantel Brown, but against, you know, in this district, well-liked, respected Democratic Party elders, I don't think that's a winning dynamic for Nina Turner. But if she starts fighting back, and to be clear, Nina Turner, her campaign have pushed back at Chantel Brown's misleading TV ads, but there's a difference between pushing back on Twitter and like doing a press conference or getting on the air yourself and defending yourself and pointing out her record. I'm not in Cleveland, but I've been talking to people that are. There's no ads out there from Nina Turner's campaign going after Chantel Brown that I've seen, or people I know there I've seen. And this is kind of the Bernie playbook. Like, you know, I'll go up to a certain line, but I won't cross that line. I mean, Bernie Sanders could have, politically speaking, clobbered Hillary Clinton over the head many times during debates. He should have and could have done the same thing with Biden. He chose not to because, frankly, I think he's a weak politician.
No, I think he's, for the very same reason that we love Bernie, is also part of his weakness. He's just simply a good person.
Right. So now that my monologue is done, your thoughts on that. And remember, smash the like button. Almost 400 people watching. We need more likes.
I like that new moniker, though, Monologue McGee. I think I'm going to keep using it.
I like that.
I want to, like, kind of go into some of these comments, like, to frame my next thing I want to say. So people are, you know, not to call anybody out, but there are folks who are up in the chat on YouTube, at least, and shout out to all the other people watching on other platforms, but who are saying things like, Nina's part of the fraud squad. The fact that she's going to be campaigning with AOC immediately, like, disqualifies her, means she's a fraud and a sellout, like XYZ. Those are paraphrases, but that's the gist. No, that's, if you are a person who is trying to win in a particular district and you have someone who got elected on progressive policies and who is literally, you know, who has literally become a superstar, not just in politics. Everybody knows AOC's name. And AOC, even though her policies, you might disagree with her policies, you might be to the left of her, but her politics are to the left of a lot of, you know, so-called normie Democrats, but they still like her. There's something about AOC that even more centrist Democrats like, which does scare the establishment, I think, which that's a discussion for another day as to whether AOC is going to falling into that. But if you are a Nina Turner who is trying to win in a district, why wouldn't you campaign with AOC? Why wouldn't you? And we know that the Democrats are running scared. Why else would they bring in the big guns of Hillary Clinton and friends? Because they don't want a Nina Turner to be in Congress. They don't want her to be there. Why don't they want her to be there? Because she is actually to the left of them, because she is actually progressive. So no amount of people saying that Nina Turner is a fraud and a sellout and just the same as Chantal Brown. I mean, I've seen some really ridiculous things being retweeted on Twitter about Nina just because it's like the thing to do right now. No, that's silly. That's absolutely silly. Why wouldn't she campaign with AOC? It helps her in her district. And if she wants Medicare for all, if she wants these progressive policies, she's going to do everything she can to woo the people in her district. That's what running is all about. Go back to when you ran for president in your, 5th grade class. You promised free ice cream or something. You don't want to lie. You do things that are in your heart, but you do things that are going to excite your audience, your intended audience of voters. So it makes total sense.
Honestly, I'm kind of done responding to these people because, like, I know their heart is in the right place, and a lot of them are, like, understandably cynical and frustrated. But these people are not interested in winning anything. That's
no.
clear. I mean, if you want to win YouTube, go ahead and call everyone a fraud, including me. But
yeah, I mean, there's people are saying right now, like Stefan Boz is saying, Jen, you have healthcare. Stop promoting this far right party. Like, that's just not reality. I have healthcare, and I am extremely grateful for that. It has helped me immensely, especially having long hauler COVID. I wish everybody could have as good healthcare as I do, which is why I fight for Medicare for all. Like, get a grip.
Yeah, I think for people who genuinely have gotten to a place in their mind that the progressive movement would be better off without Nina Turner in Congress. This is not to say, like, Nina Turner as a congresswoman would not piss progressives off at any point, or would not disappoint progressives at any point, or would compromise in certain ways that progressives didn't like all the time. But I don't have a crystal ball. You don't have a crystal ball to just blanket her with AOC and the others before she's even got in there, and completely ignore, by the way, her track record of taking serious political risks, spurning Hillary Clinton. She endorsed Hillary Clinton in 2016 and then left Hillary Clinton for Bernie Sanders. There was nothing in it for her to do that other than principle. She's taken other principled stands. So these people are not interested in, like, winning anything. They just want to be pure on YouTube. So that's fine. But
and then also, just one more quick point. Like, people are saying, like, oh, if Nina was true, if she was truly a progressive, why isn't she running under the People's Party? Because she literally can't, guys, because you can't do that. You simply can't because of the structure. So the people who are telling you that this is what Nina should have done are not acting in good faith. Look it up.
Well, I genuinely don't even think. Let me address this. Lord Exfurious, way to dismiss people's concerns, Jordan. You see, Lord Exfurious, that's the thing. You're watching this live stream now, but we've addressed this many, many times. So that's why I'm kind of being short and kind of snappy, because I'm tired of addressing this. Mm-hmm. But I've said from the beginning, I understand, like, the people that have pushed fraud, sellout, to politicians, this and that. I get it. I'm pissed off. Jen and I are pissed off. We're the ones traveling around the country, seeing this corruption and misery up close, and then seeing AOC, the rest of the squad, vote present and, not leverage their vote. We're as pissed off as you are. And we're critical of them. I've been critical of them. So is Jen. But the point is, like, you have to set, and this is not just about Nina Turner right now. In your mind, you have to just, in life, not everything is black or white, and not everything is all or nothing. And I think that is because of that righteous and understandable anger a lot of progressives have. You rode the Bernie wave, 2016, 2020. It didn't get us to the White House. You donated, you volunteered for AOC and these others, and they're not doing what you want. It's easy to then just grow hardened and cynical and even nihilistic and say, they're all sellouts, they're all frauds. But at the end of the day, I really think a lot of you are having selective amnesia. I really think a lot of you have selective amnesia, and maybe your expectations were a little out of sort. And the reason I say that, a little over a year ago, okay, a little over a year ago, the progressive movement in football terms was kind of on like the 5-yard line of an actual progressive clinching the Democratic nomination. Okay, this was over a little over a year ago when Bernie was close to winning the nomination. By the way, this was 4 years before that. There was no organized progressive movement in America. So in the span of 4 to 5 years, you had an organized movement pop up. You had candidates actually winning that were progressive, and you had a candidate, if he didn't get his own way and make a lot of mistakes, in Bernie Sanders, because I think he made a lot of mistakes, and I think he cost himself, not just Obama and the Democratic Party rigging it. I think he blew it on his own, which I've gone into over and over. But we're not as far as you think we are. It was extremely close, if not for, frankly, James Clyburn, Obama, all these candidates dropping out, the media. I mean, Bernie would have won the nomination, and I think he would have clobbered Trump. Like, Biden did not clobber Trump, Bernie would have. So this nihilism you have, I get why you're angry now. But don't forget, it wasn't so long ago that there was a lot of momentum and movement for the progressive movement. And by the way, we weren't going to get into this, Jen, but I should say, we've criticized Bernie a lot. But again, you have to get out of all or nothing, black or white thinking. If any person is going to tell you that the $3.5 trillion reconciliation package that the Democratic Party just announced that they're going to do, now, it remains to be seen if they're going to do it. But for right now, they just announced $3.5 trillion. There is not a chance in hell it would have been anywhere close to $3.5 trillion without Bernie Sanders, who we have criticized. That's the only reason it's at $3.5 trillion, because Bernie didn't listen to YouTube and Twitter and did his whatever behind the scenes. I don't like it. I don't like that he hasn't been fighting Biden. I think he should be doing both, working behind the scenes and publicly going after Biden. But $3.5 trillion for healthcare, climate proposals, and that is a good thing. And it doesn't matter if it's coming from the Democratic Party. You can't be this nihilist that, like, any good thing, crumbs. I saw somebody on Twitter, Jen, say, that's crumbs. I'm like, literally, it's $3.5 trillion, and then the bipartisan infrastructure deal that we think is going to happen is another $500 billion. So that's $4 trillion in new spending. That's what we called the shifting the Overton window.
Yeah.
Not just shifting the window, but it actually happening. So to me, if you want to have this nihilistic, all black or white, like everybody's a sellout and they're all frauds, and if you don't say that, you're a fraud, then you probably shouldn't watch us, because we're never going to feed that to you. It's disingenuous. It's good for clicks, but it's not reality. And I think Bernie deserves credit. That would not be a $3.5 trillion bill without Bernie Sanders, who, by the way, he demanded $6 trillion.
Yeah,
that's why he demanded a lot more, knowing he's not getting $6 trillion, but actually saying, I'm not voting for it if it's not X amount. He's compromising at $3.5 trillion. $3.5 trillion plus $500 billion. It's not at all enough for the climate catastrophe. But until we seize power ourselves, that's a victory. And if you are at a point in your mind, progressives, I know it's not everybody, that you can't even take the win, that you can't even celebrate. You don't have to credit Biden for it, but you can't even say, wow, this is a good thing. Then I think, you need to, I'm not saying your criticisms are unwarranted, but just think about it. You're really calling Nina Turner a fraud because while running in a deeply establishment district, she's not ranting against the Democratic Party and Joe Biden? Like, to you, that makes her a fraud? Because
no,
if that's the case, then you would prefer her to be pure and lose the election than win. And if that's your case, then we're just not on the same page.
I'm even more cynical than that. I think that, and I'm not speaking directly to anyone in the chat, if this doesn't fit you, then it doesn't fit you. But I think a lot of people are criticizing Nina simply because some of the people they follow are criticizing Nina and are criticizing others. And it's, I also saw people, for no reason at all, bringing up Ryan Grimm in the chat and calling him a fraud and a sellout and a fake journalist and a grifter all over this chat. What are you doing? We all know that we all know that there are folks who have been criticizing Ryan Grimm, and like, you don't have to like Ryan Grimm, but he's obviously not a grifter. That's crazy. People can disagree online. He's the only editor who is giving our Flint reporting a fair shake, who is letting it see the light of day. I don't know Ryan well at all, but that to me means a hell of a lot, because behind the scenes, we have spoken with so many editors. We've spoken with so many outlets, and Ryan Grimm is letting this happen. He is, as an editor, allowing Flint reporting to happen. That means a lot. So why do you not like Ryan Grimm? Is it because someone told you that you don't like Ryan Grimm? I mean, really think about it.
No, I think, and I want to wrap this up because I don't want to get sidetracked too much because we got other stuff to cover. Smash that like button, 430 people watching. You know, for example, like, bottom line, you gotta start thinking, like, if you're basically canceling people that you liked 2 years ago, like I've seen people call David Sirota, who literally was like a one-man wrecking ball for Bernie Sanders' campaign, going after all the candidates with facts and C-SPAN clips. I've seen people calling David Sirota a sellout. Ryan Grimm, to me, listen, some of the stories in The Intercept, I don't like. I don't like what happened with Reality Winner. I think that was really sloppy of them. I don't like, you know, I think Ryan Grimm interviewed Pramila Jayapal. It was a softball. I mean, I think Ryan Grimm acknowledged that. But also, like, what standard are you holding people to? Like, Ryan Grimm is not a fucking YouTube commentator. He's a reporter. So, like, within his job, he can't, like, rant against the squad. He can't rant against AOC because he would have no credibility. It's not about losing your access. It's about, as a reporter, you can't, like, just, basically as a reporter, you cannot be, you know, Cenk Uygur of the mid-2000s ranting, or Jimmy Dore now. You have to, you could give your opinion, but you also have to have credibility and be serious. So, and like Jen said, like, I think Jen undersold it. We're going to write a book one day or do a documentary. If you saw the responses we have gotten from corporate media editors when we smack them in the face with bombshell reporting on Flint, and they basically tell us, we're going to pass. It was too long ago. This, that. Literally, bombshell stuff. Well, other than Vice last year, which was a fucking hell of a fight to get that published in Vice, other than that, Ryan Grimm and The Intercept have been the only outlet that has taken an interest in still reporting on an American city being poisoned and a criminal cover-up 7 years later. And by the way, the next bomb is coming out, we hope, next week with The Intercept.
Big bomb.
I don't really care. You know, I don't know Ryan Grimm from a hole in the wall. I've never met him. I don't dislike him. But I think I think these, you know, let's call them the new Puritans online. Listen, whatever. If you guys want to scream in an echo together for till the ends of time and not win anything, go ahead. We're going to move on to more serious things. The last thing I want to say about this, Jen, although I have made the point, and I just want to, like, this is like new information for the audience. Although I have made the point that I think Nina Turner's campaign is making strategic mistakes, that if they lose, I'm going to cite this. People like a fighter. So she should be fighting. She should be going after Chantel Brown for these lies on air. She should be pointing out Chantel Brown's record or lack of record. It's fine to run on your story, and Nina Turner has a great story. It's fine to run on your policies, but at the end of the day, you have to point out why the other person's no good and you're better. And that Bernie was a major failure in doing that. But I will point out, just strategically also, there is one thing that their campaign is doing that might end up being the difference in them winning. And this is kind of in the weeds. So if you live in the Ohio area that this district's in, so the district is split up between Cleveland and Akron. From what I've been told, and including the co-chair of the Democratic Socialists of America, the Akron chapter, Nina's been pounding the pavement in Akron. Chantel Brown has basically gone to, like, a coffee shop in that highly gentrified area and spoke with business people. But the DSA chair at Akron told me, no, Nina Turner's been on the ground here several times, like not in the gentrified area, but like with the actual working people. And she has invested more resources in Akron. She's been in Cleveland plenty too. And Chantel Brown has basically ignored Akron. So that might help Nina Turner run up the numbers if she is outperforming Chantel Brown in Akron. The other thing I'll say about AOC, call her what you want, these congressional elections, but specifically special elections, are notorious for low turnout. So if you have AOC speaking with you, well, that's going to excite young people in the district who might generally not vote in a congressional race or a special election, because AOC does still have a lot of street cred with young people, particularly young people of color. So it's smart. It's smart for Nina to campaign with AOC. It might piss off the new Puritan left, but whatever. She's not trying to win congressperson of YouTube. So that's the update. That's the update with this election. We are.
Well, I want to cap that off by saying oh, the new Puritan left. Talking about online YouTube. We say that because this is about policy. It's not about winning an online battle. It's not about winning an online fight. So if it seems like we're being dismissive or even upset by this, it's because it's getting in the way of policy and real progress. And if you care about policy and real progress, then why wouldn't you want Nina Turner to win over Chantel Brown? And I have seen so-called leftists say that they're just the same thing. No, they're not. They're not. If they were just the same thing, then why is Clyburn endorsing Brown? Why is Hillary endorsing Brown? It's because they're not the same thing. So this is about policy. This is about healthcare. This is about real things that affect real people on the ground. And so we're not being, dismissive of the online left or like people online. Like obviously we're very online too, but we're saying, let's get over ourselves. What matters are real people, real lives, those real doors that are being knocked on by DSA, by Nina Turner, etc.
And I'll just say, and I've said this before, if you really feel that way, and by the way, this isn't like the overwhelming majority of progressives. This is a growing number of people, but it's still not the whole progressive movement. But if you really feel like, because I'm even seeing the comments now, like it's all theater, nothing's ever going to change, blah, 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 blah. And, everybody's a sellout, fraud. If you really feel that way, why are you online? Why are you even watching any political shows? Why don't you just get some whiskey, get some weed, herbal tea, if that's your thing, and call it a life? Why are you even focusing on it if you think it's all hopeless, if you think it doesn't matter, whether it's the candidate, whether it's electoral politics or protest movements, nothing's going to change. Why bother if that's your mindset? So. And
Valerie, we don't mean to be condescending at all. I think it's what you're sensing is a frustration, especially I'm doing some digging in the background. If you saw, so if you were a person or an entity or a government who didn't want leftist policies to progress. So we're obviously a capitalist society. There are a lot of lobbyists, there are a lot of companies that have an interest in us not moving left at all, and us not having any democratic socialist policies. So if you saw that this was happening, and you saw that a lot of the online left was growing through online means, through social media, through Twitter, etc., what would you do if you were a government or an entity or whatever? Would you sow discord? I think you probably would. So I think that's that's what you're sensing is the frustration surrounding that, as well as some things that I'm digging into in the background as well. So it's not meant to be condescending. Thank you so much, DG Daniels, $10 in the super chat. Good stuff, guys. I agree with you, but I understand the frustration. People have been so let down going back to Obama, and there's a big cost to these disappointments. I think you have a fantastic point, and that really, really is important to highlight. People are let down, people are disappointed, and I think that has turned some folks to nihilism and has potentially opened people up to being sucked into things they wouldn't otherwise, certain mindsets that they would not otherwise be sucked into. So I think, my advice for folks who are feeling nihilistic is focus on the people, focus on the policies. That's what we try to do here at Status Coup. I also, before we move on, want to say welcome to new YouTube Status Coup member, The Dude. Very, very cool username. We appreciate you. As well as new Rockfin premium subscriber who joined through our channel, rockfin.com/statuscoup. Welcome to Christine. Amazing, amazing, amazing. The more subscribers we get, and we do have a goal. I don't know if we can probably say the goal, right? Of number? Yeah, so we want 100 subscribers because that will boost our guaranteed Rockfin income, which will allow us to report in the field more. We would love to be there with, reporting on Nina and AOC in Ohio. And potentially others to come. We do plan to get there at some point. Jordan plans to go closer to the special election, but there are a lot of stories that we want to cover, and so joining Rockfin and doing these things really, really helps us out. So we appreciate all of you guys. And I know that there were other super chats. Unfortunately, they disappear. So we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and by the way, really the last thing, if you think what we're saying is condescending, like I saw somebody like, I come to Status Coup for reporting, not your op-eds, you don't have to watch us. I mean, I genuinely, we're not trying to condescend, but if you're so much of a snowflake that us just being honest with you is triggering you and it's condescending to we're telling you we understand your anger and frustration. We're not condescending you. I think it's valid, but we just think we're trying to, based on what we've seen on the road and our experience, we're trying to tell you we think that mindset is not productive and is actually going to just keep the left losing. So if you think that's condescending or you don't like it, then we apologize. Yeah, whatever. So,
$4.99 Lynn B. Sorry about that, Jordan, but we have another amazing person who gave us a super chat. Lynn B, thank you for reminding me to fill out my mail-in ballot for Nina. I just need to mail it now. Yeah, very cool. Obviously, it's best for Nina to win over Chantel Brown if as a progressive. So that's awesome. The Dude, $20 in the super chat. Thank you, thank you. Thanks for all the excellent work you guys and gals do. Keep up the great work. We appreciate you, The Dude. Levon Huey, $9.99. It's strange how so many Jimmy Dore fans don't listen to what he's actually saying and make him look bad. Too many leftists don't want to do their own due diligence. So I think what I'll point out from your comment is I do think a lot of Jimmy Dore fans don't listen to what he's saying. I think a lot do too much. And I'm just being honest with you, no media figure, no politician is your friend. These parasocial relationships, this thought that you, just because someone that you like online says something, that's what you have to think is not true. So I really think that the point of too many leftists not doing their due diligence is a very, very spot on one for sure.
Yeah, and I also think to me, this is much broader than any one host. I started seeing this mentality after Bernie dropped out and endorsed Hillary Clinton with this sellout fraud. And I was talking about it then that I didn't think it was good. You could disagree with Bernie, what he did, endorsing her. I've strongly disagreed with a lot of Bernie Sanders campaign moves, and I said it. But this is kind of a trend that's been going on since 2016 of this kind of all or nothing, black or white, categorizing and labeling people if you don't agree with them or they've disappointed you in some instances, canceled. And it's bigger than it's not about one host creating that mindset. It's about that mindset has been seeping in since 2016 for a lot of different reasons. We believe that is going to keep the left permanently in a minority. If we don't actually focus on winning, and it's not just about electoral politics, I think we badly need a general strike, which I think one of these clips we're about to play is going to show you. So, moving on. Yesterday, kind of...
Smash that like button, share this stream, get the word out.
Smash that like button, share it. Yesterday, because we actually go out and report, thank you to our members, statuscoup.com/join, I went back to Amazon's Staten Island warehouse, which is humongous. It's literally the size of 15 football fields. And I've been reporting on this warehouse in particular for a couple weeks now because they're trying to unionize. Obviously, it failed in Alabama, the unionization effort. I think it was illegal, what happened in Alabama. I think, literally the shenanigans that went on there. I don't think we genuinely know what the real numbers were because I think Amazon clearly was tampering with it. But putting that aside, this union effort in New York is picking up steam, and New York is not Alabama. New York's workforce, 22% is unionized, which is it's one of the highest numbers in the country. I think 22% is still too low, but compared to other states, it's pretty high. Companies can't get away with just blatantly, workplace abuses as easily. So this group of union organizers who are filled with workers at this warehouse and Christian Smalls, the Amazon worker who got fired last year for the crime of trying to organize and pressure Amazon to, give them masks during a pandemic, give them sanitizer, actually send people home so it wasn't packed like sardines, pay people during the pandemic, and clean the warehouse. He was fired for that. So I've been building sources there, and it's like every other day you hear something horrendous. And recently, I found out that Amazon retaliated against a black worker who was basically trying to get signatures on a petition so that Amazon would pay them for the Juneteenth holiday. Biden and the Democrats just approved, it was bipartisan, made Juneteenth a holiday. Well, federal holidays, you're supposed to be off work and get, a paid off day. Or if you have to work, get paid time and a half. So this story is so alarming, and it's really shows a much broader problem at Amazon, not just in New York, but all throughout the country. This was part of our exclusive live stream with Rockfin yesterday. So if you couldn't watch the live stream and you haven't seen it yet, Colin, let's play this reporting from Amazon yesterday. Amazon workers, not just here, but in other warehouses around the country. And I've heard really troubling things as far as racism, worker retaliation. Amazon's workforce is significantly minority. Black workers treated differently than white workers. So then, as we fast forward to your case, President Biden announced a couple days before June 19th that was now going to be a federal holiday. Congress voted for it to be a federal holiday. So federal holidays, workplaces, you're either supposed to be off from work, paid, or if you're working, get time and a half. So let's start from there. Once President Biden announced Juneteenth as a federal holiday, what did Amazon do?
So Amazon told us to take the time to reflect and meditate and talk about it with our families, but they did not compensate us with any kind of additional pay or a day off. We were expected to keep working as much as possible.
So you might be short in stature, but you're kind of a badass from what I hear. So what did you do as a result of them not basically trying to duck paying overtime?
So a couple of employees were voicing out about it on our giant VOA board. Amazon shut them down. HR shut them down. Two of our union representatives went over and approached the general manager talking about holiday pay. They were dismissed. We got together a petition. So the Amazon Labor Union has over 60 signatures now of people saying that, hey, we deserve holiday pay.
Sorry to interrupt. For the audience that doesn't know, we're actually under the Amazon Labor Union tent. And what the Amazon Labor Union is, after workers in Bessemer, Alabama tried to unionize, unfortunately failed. I think it was illegal what went on down there, but that's a different story. Workers here are trying to organize, and they are called Amazon Labor Union. So that's the tent. Christian, who again was fired from Amazon, has been out here every day. Workers kind of come and go. So there's a lot of active workers who are part of this Amazon Labor Union, and they're trying to become the first unionized Amazon in the country. So that's what she means by Amazon Labor Union. And the VOA board she's talking about is basically Amazon's voice of the associate. It's a digital board where I've seen a lot of workers complaining about all sorts of things. All right, so you complained, other workers complained on the digital board that they're not paying you for Juneteenth.
Right, but before I complained, we went in there again, presented the petition to our general manager, Felipe, and he dismissed it again, said, oh, no, we're not even going to consider it. And I told him, you're not even going to make a phone call, one effort to put this into practice. He said no. So that's when I went on the VOA board. And I told everybody, look, he's not going to make an effort, so it's up to you. Come out to the tent. You're invited to come sign the petition so we can present this again. Every 50 signatures, we're going to do this. He calls me in a couple of days later.
This is the general manager.
The general manager sends his senior assistant or something of HR to talk to me and say, hey, this is against company policy. You're soliciting. We don't do that here, and we're going to take the comment down. I said, I'm just going to put it back up. I'm not soliciting or selling anything. That's the definition of the word. You don't understand that? Look it up. That's what it is. And I was very, very nice about it. Very, very nice. But still, it's against my freedom of speech to actually put that up. And I brought up another point. Somebody put up that they were saying, vote for me for the Amazon talent show. It's the equivalent of the same thing. So I brought that up to him. He said, look, we're not going to talk semantics here. I said, well, if you're going to use that kind of language, this is what it's about. And you could do the right thing by law and keep the comment up there. He said, no, well, we're going to remove it and there'll be further consequences if you do. I said, all right, fine, cool. So in the afternoon, I checked. They had removed it. I posted it back up. And then when I was getting off my shift, I checked again, see if I could post something. But no, I was blocked and I didn't have permissions anymore to post on the board.
So let me just dumb this down for the audience. Amazon, who, if you're watching, because I think Amazon's monitoring my accounts, Amazon's net profit in 2020, 84% they went up. 84%, basically off the backs of these fine people. They went up 84%. So federal holidays, by law, you have to pay workers who are working time and a half, or if workers are off, it's just a paid holiday. So even though Biden announced it days before Juneteenth, Congress passed it, so by law, they should be getting time and a half. So, I mean, let's just be real here. They brought in a black woman to HR who is complaining about not getting that pay for Juneteenth. They told you were soliciting. Again, that's not soliciting. And then they took down your comment, which is interesting. If you're calling this board voice of the associate, they're taking down comments they don't want. And then when you reposted it, they restricted your access. Is that right?
That's exactly what they did.
Okay.
Exactly.
And did they keep the comment down? Did they allow you access again? What happened next?
What happened next was I alerted my union. Everybody got together. We started retweeting it. I tweeted it out to everyone. We got the word out. And the next day I checked again and my permissions were restored. But it was too late because I had already contacted our attorney.
So this isn't, people might say like, oh, think this is only about Juneteenth. But this is part of a much bigger pattern here. First of all, we already established how much money they're making. But they basically want hire workers if they could get rid of them after 3-4 months. They like quick turnaround, using workers, but not having to raise their wages, not having to give them extra benefits, getting them out, and then bringing literally a bus. We're next to the bus stop, more workers in. So they go out of their way to not pay extra benefits, to not pay holiday pay. And it seems to me, this is predominantly a black and Hispanic workforce. You all are basically on the receiving end of this.
Most definitely, and because it's minority-led, they should expect this kind of thing to happen and should have already planned for it in advance. And, they got the inside intel anyway. So to reward the workers, to thank them for their hard work, to recognize that the majority of their workers are black, brown, and Asian and whatever, it would be an automatic. But there is a disconnect between management and the workers.
And Christian, this doesn't seem like, I've been hearing about retaliation going on now for weeks. So this retaliation, but they suddenly gave her access again because certain people, including me, tweeted about it. Can you kind of talk about this and other forms of retaliation? Obviously, you were fired, so you haven't been inside, but you have the pulse of what's going inside. You talk to the workers. There's been other retaliations going on the last few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and
By the way, it's coming down. That's why we're under the tent. It's raining, thunder, all that.
this is the trenches. Yes. You know, Dana is just the latest, you know, situation to happen. It's not, you know, Amazon say they stand in solidarity with the black community. They said this last year when the George Floyd incident happened and Breonna Taylor. If you stand in solidarity with the black community, then Juneteenth should have been taken care of last year. It's a private-owned company. They don't have to wait for the president to recognize it as a federal holiday. They could have did that on their own. So that just shows the disconnect, as she mentioned, that they have between the black and brown community in this building and with the company. You know, a black woman, and not just a black woman, 60 people, and we could have got more. We just thought that that would be enough to get the ball rolling. Felt that this should have been recognized as Amazon's 8th paid holiday. They only recognized 7, and Juneteenth is not one of them. And it shouldn't be if they stand in solidarity with the black community. So we just want to continue to fight for that, and hopefully her stance will be something that other workers will join in once they hear about it. So we're just trying to get the word out, and that's what we did. This is a petition right here. You know, this is it. These are actual workers that currently work here at JFK that want this to go through. So, you know, we really putting in the work. We really trying to fight for every cause, no matter how big or small. And this is what it's about.
And, let's come in a little more. Can you kind of talk about, reason it's not 60 minutes. Can you kind of talk about what they're doing here is happening in a broader campaign? So you've been out, you and other workers, getting signatures for interest to form a union. You might be filing, you know, in the coming weeks and months. So they're shutting this down and retaliating against her in the broader context of you guys are really making momentum on organizing workers to form that union. Is that right?
Definitely. One voice is so powerful, and they're so afraid of that speaking out that they would silence it. It's amazing what we can do. Just one person. But then when you have everyone united together, we're definitely going to have a union.
Absolutely. And, you know, that's what show you what the power of people do, you know, when they come together. We only been out here for a little over 2.5 months now, and we got over 1,000 people signed up, you know, and if we're staying the course, we continue to earn the trust of the employees, fight for everybody's rights. I think that that is resonating with the workers here, and that's the reason why we're able to do what we're doing. And if, you know, all goes well, we'll be successful this time around. I really believe in AOU. I believe in what we're doing. Everybody here has been great. The workers are organizing themselves now. You know, I'm out here organizing on the outside, but I know on the inside there's people right now as we speak that are fighting and talking to their co-workers about the AOU, trying to get them signed up and try to get them protection.
So that was just a little bit of our live stream yesterday from Amazon. We have other clips that we'll be posting. But to me, honestly, I don't even know where to start. First of all, Amazon workforce in most warehouses is majority black and Hispanic. So they don't want to pay for Juneteenth, which I think is illegal because it's now a federal holiday. Putting that aside, they've done commercials pushing out, you know, how grateful they are for their black workers and essential workers, mostly showing black faces, but they don't want to pay for Juneteenth. And then when Dana, the female worker in that picture, when Dana just tries to organize a signature petition, which is any worker's right to do, they pull her into HR, tell her you're soliciting, which doesn't even make sense. She's not selling anything. And then literally restrict her access from posting on the voice of the associate board, meaning you could have a voice unless it's calling for Amazon to pay you more. It's just outrageous. And people might think, oh, it's just one warehouse. This is kind of in the weeds. No. Different shades of this are going on at Amazon all over the country, all over the world. Because as the media pushes this propaganda. Oh, Jeff Bezos is going to space. And like the media is gleeful over Amazon Prime Week or whatever it was. They're literally in that warehouse. We covered the fact that workers are fainting and being carted off on stretchers because it's so damn hot in the warehouse, while the HR and other executives, their offices are perfectly air conditioned and they're wearing hoodies and sweaters. So people are fainting and being carted off on stretchers in recent weeks. You have a lot of workers are literally sleeping in their cars outside because they're homeless. So they work a 12-hour shift and can't afford an apartment in New York. And then you have retaliating against, let's say it, black workers over Juneteenth. I mean, imagine, Jen, if the whole country was exposed to this by their media. I genuinely, I mean, I'm not naive, but I do think a lot of people would sacrifice ordering yoga mats in 2 hours if they saw what's going on.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's like your quote that you always say that's, on some of our pages that people, what is it that people, it's not that people don't have compassion.
Most people are not lacking compassion in this country. Most people have no fucking idea what's going on.
Yes, I think it's directly, I think that is very fitting for this situation. If people knew about this, then they'd be up in arms. It's not the case that most people are bad and uncaring. It's that they don't know. It's that, the New York Times and CNN, they're not showing this right now. They're doing some kind of soft Amazon reporting, but only within, what they're allowed to do. And here we have a case where it wasn't in that specific clip, and the entire live stream is fantastic. Rockfin.com/statusquo to watch all of it. But you also read a response that you got when you reached out for comment from Amazon that I think is very telling of what Amazon is as a company. So in these descriptions that workers are giving of these hot conditions of people fainting, etc., it's like unbearable to work there. They're essentially, the short of the response from Amazon's person is no. That's not the case. Your sources are wrong. Yeah, go ahead and read it. I think it's important.
So when I reached out to Amazon, because I was reporting a story about the extreme heat and people fainting and being pulled out on stretchers, I also had screenshots of workers, complaints on the digital board complaining about the heat. So they said, Jordan, I've given you accurate, attributable, and on-the-record information so that you could present actual facts to your readers. Your source information, meaning the workers, is false, and you've been made aware of that. Your continued practice of knowingly reporting inaccurate information is unprofessional, and as a result, this is my last email. So I wrote back, So to be clear, Amazon is not going to respond to the discrepancy between what Amazon is claiming and what 5 sources are telling me, as well as in-writing complaints posted on the warehouse's digital system. I get the corporate spin to simply say false, but it's telling that you won't actually respond with answers to worker complaints, both to journalists and on your own message board, unless those messages are fake too. And crickets after that, shockingly.
Yeah, I had to laugh while being wide-eyed when you first told me about that response, because it's not a surprise, and it's also just so shockingly bad that what else can you do but laugh and have like a dark sense of humor about this. If they even cared about doing good PR, they would say something like, oh, we will definitely check into this. We always want to make sure our employees are safe and comfortable. We'll get back to you, and then blow you off, and then not do anything or whatever. But at least do a good job with PR. No, this person, this Amazon rep was essentially like, no, the workers are lying. All the several workers that you've talked to about this, they're all lying. Also, you're unprofessional. And they're so powerful that they don't even care about pretending to be good. They don't even care about pretending to care. So I think that's pretty striking.
Well, it's also, this is an important point also, that so the audience understands it. The reason these corporations and their PR spinsters do this is because they know within the system they have cover. There's very few journalists who are actually going to go after them. Even the New York Times, who did a takedown of Amazon, if you read it, it's a very long piece, came out recently. The New York Times bent over backwards and twisted itself into a pretzel to basically he said, she said everything, and give all the benefit of the doubt to Amazon. And that's what corporate news outlets do. We have experienced dealing with corporate outlets that try to water down our stories, and by the end of it, it's not even the actual story you have. It's just this watered down version to not lose access, to not piss off advertisers, to not have legal consequences. So these Amazon people, I've seen it, for example, earlier this year, we exclusively reported that a 38-year-old woman, 38-year-old Amazon worker, her name was Pashawn Brown, she was literally testing coworkers, giving them COVID nasal swabs in the Amazon warehouse in Virginia. Not a nurse, not a doctor, no medical training. For months, all day, she was administering nasal swabs to coworkers. She didn't have the proper mask. She didn't have full gown, goggles, any of that. We even saw the video. We even got video of the area that Amazon had her and others testing coworkers. There was no separators. There was no plexiglass. It was very small. So this woman just dropped dead at 38 years old. She came home one night, told her sister, I have a headache. The next morning, cooks her daughter breakfast, goes back into bed because she doesn't feel well. She doesn't wake up. As I reported then, I don't know if she had COVID because the family couldn't afford an autopsy. And when the family asked Amazon to help them with an autopsy, Amazon wouldn't do it. So I don't know, most 38-year-olds, healthy women, she didn't have any major health problems, don't drop dead. So we don't know if she had COVID, but an autopsy would have helped, right? We do know that Amazon recklessly endangered her life. So I reported that. I had sourcing in the warehouse. I had her sister. I had her mother. I spoke with many people. And I think that tweet, I first just did it as a tweet thread. Jen, I think it got a lot, like 9,000 retweets or something like that. And when you get a tweet like that's semi-viral, you could say. So then Amazon, like a CNBC reporter went to Amazon for comment, right? I guess CNBC has a dedicated reporter that covers Amazon. And what did the CNBC reporter do after they saw my tweet? They go to Amazon. Amazon fed them bullshit. And the CNBC reporter just, very dutifully reported Amazon's bullshit and didn't investigate it herself. She didn't try to contact the sister. She didn't try to contact the family. She certainly didn't try to contact workers in that warehouse. She just did stenography for Amazon. So
yeah, if I remember that tweet correctly, she quote tweeted you or something, and she was like, "Oh, this looks bad. This isn't good." And then her next tweet or a tweet after that, that you were speaking of was like, "Oh, well, Amazon says everything's fine." Then that's how she left it.
She went back to her masters and then reported their propaganda. But the whole point is, this is how the status quo exists, because we have a corporate media that's not actual journalism. It's not actual media. It's multi-billion-dollar PR for corporations, government officials, and politicians. That's it. So that is why it's not surprising, because Amazon knows we don't, hopefully one day, we're not the New York Times. We don't have that reach yet. So they know, all right, they'll do their stories, which they're still important to do these stories. They'll do them, and we'll squash them because the corporate media is not going to actually dig into it, and the corporate media won't report and won't confirm what we're reporting. Literally, I just go out to the Union tent. I've been there twice I'm going to go more at this warehouse. They tell me, yeah, no mainstream media reporters have come here. We've had 5 barbecues, this and that. It's literally in New York City, the biggest media market in the country, in the world. And you can't get local outlets to go. You can't go to the New York Times has barely went. New York Daily News, nobody. So that's what's going on. And that's why corporations continue to get away with, basically strangling you. Moving on, Jen, we have a Rudy Giuliani update.
Rudy.
And by the way, just a reminder, sorry to say moving on and then cut you off. Just a reminder.
Wait, what? That would never happen.
That whole live stream, because we were live for over an hour and we interviewed a lot of workers on several topics. It's all available on rockfin.com/status quo for premium members. Right now, I think we're almost at 50 paid Rockfin premium members through status quo. If we get to 100, our guaranteed revenue from Rockfin goes up significantly. So we're close. I mean, 50 is not so far away from 100, and we've only done 2 live streams. So please, if it's within your budget, if it's not, we totally understand. If it's within your budget, $9.99 a month for our premium live stream once a week, and other premium content from hosts Lee Camp's on there, Graham Elwood, others. Definitely, if you could swing it, $9.99 a month. I've seen people yesterday like, I'm canceling my Twitch, this, that, and the other thing. I'm not going to tell you to cancel anyone or not to cancel anyone, but if you feel you should reappropriate your media budget, we're not going to stop you. So please, sign up, rockfin.com/status quo. Rudy Giuliani, Jen.
Rudy, I mean, so you guys remember, and maybe you're new to us, and maybe you don't recall, but back in November, after the election, Rudy had his famous 4 Seasons Total Landscaping presser. The very next press conference in November was on the 19th. And this press conference took place in the RNC building, the Republican National Committee building in DC. And so that morning, I got the message that this presser was happening, because they're often scheduled last minute. And I was like, I'm definitely going to go to that. I really want to go to that. So I went, and it had just started, the whole election conspiracy fraud push had kind of just started to take off. And Rudy hadn't fully revealed just how crazy it was going to get. By crazy, I mean the things that he was saying, the things that Sidney Powell was saying, the things that Jenna Ellis was saying. And so at this point in time, there were many lawsuits being filed everywhere, saying that there was fraud, that this election was fraudulent. So in different states and different places, it was happening all over the place. It was immediately a giant mess, as you can imagine, because it's at the hands of Rudy Giuliani. So I went to this press conference because I was determined to ask him a question. I had it in my mind that it was crucial to push him on this rising conspiracy fraud talk that was happening at the time. So even though it was, this was way before vaccines were out for COVID, and when I got there, I thought, okay, the press conference will probably be outside, it'll be okay. But it wasn't. It was inside in a very tiny, tiny room, which I'll talk about what happened COVID-wise later. But for now, I want you to keep in mind that this was before we knew exactly what was to come with the conspiracy fraud, including the insane things that Sidney Powell would end up saying, the insane things that Rudy Giuliani would continue saying, and also Jenna Ellis. So this press conference, this was the one where the hair dye was melting down his face. And this was really kind of the start of much more dangerous things to come. So Colin, if you can play the video, the Twitter clip of when I pressed Rudy at this conference, please.
alleged that Donald Trump has won by a landslide. We've seen that a lot of your lawsuits and in fact lawyers have been kind of dropping like flies. What do you say to those people who call this a Russiagate 2.0 just on the other side? Why didn't this, and also why didn't this happen in 2016?
What fake network do you come from?
I don't come up from a fake network. In fact, I am completely independent, have no one above my head. We're status quo, independent.
First of all, our cases haven't been dismissed. We only have
over 20
plaintiffs who were involved in this.
and also many lawyers.
Don't lie to
So
people.
I'm saying, what do you say to those who call this Russiagate 2.0? I think that we can say that Democrats have a lot to say, that they kind of went way over their head, pointing Russia, everything. What do you say to those who call this you guys doing the same sort of thing?
The answer to the question is, we don't have a lot of lawsuits. We only have 3. Our lawsuits have not been dropped all over the place.
You did mention at the top that lawyers had to go away because they were afraid for publicly.
You're a totally discourteous person. I'm going to finish my answer. So,
I'm actually really nice.
I'm going to finish my answer. The fact is we have very few lawsuits. The lawsuits you're talking about have been brought by private individuals and groups. Most of them were dismissed for lack of standing, probably correctly, because they were brought before the election took place. The election is now over. The only lawsuit we have withdrawn is the one where we got the relief that we wanted, and that's the one in Michigan. We also have another lawsuit in Michigan that will accomplish the other objectives of what we want to do in Michigan. So it's silly to have 2 competing lawsuits. The only lawyer that left a case left because he was threatened. His family was threatened. His children were threatened. And so was the other lawyer. Yeah, that's true. We have a little difficulty getting lawyers.
We have a little difficulty getting lawyers. So it was a longer conversation than that. As you can see, he called me a totally discourteous person. And that's because I did interrupt him. And I interrupted him because he was lying. And so I thought it important to immediately point out to the audience, to anyone watching, that he was lying through his teeth like crazy. And I did that not because I'm a completely discourteous person. I did that because I saw the danger of what was happening. I saw how incredibly dangerous it was that Rudy was spreading these lies, that Sidney Powell was spreading these lies, that Jenna Ellis was spreading these lies. And I looked around me several times throughout this press conference in horror as journalists, in quotes, around me from corporate outlets asked questions like, okay, Rudy, where are you gonna file your next lawsuit? And that is the type of questions that these mainstream big named outlets asked. And I'm sitting there screaming in my mind, like, what are you guys doing? Why are you acting like this is a real thing? He's lying. These are lies. And not only that, but these are very dangerous lies. And that was, I don't pat myself on the back very often, but that was right. It was dead on, because we saw what happened on January 6th. And we saw what was to come and what is happening now still today. I'd spent a lot of time studying QAnon. I'd spent a lot of time studying what had happened to the most sycophantic voters and supporters of Donald Trump. And so I knew how important that press conference was. And I couldn't, kind of hold myself back. And I think that is the role of a journalist. We're there to hold power to account. And I'm disgusted that other journalists did not do the same thing. And I have to say, I'm proud of that day. I'm proud of status quo, because that is who we are. This is what we do. We hold power to account. And I said this on Twitter. You guys hold a piece of that. That is because of you. It's because you guys support us It's because you're members at statusquo.com/join. It's because you support our GoFundMe at gofundme.com/statusquo. It's because of you guys. But we bring this up because there's some news. There's some news that, as we could have guessed, everybody knew, including top dogs in the RNC and the Republican National Committee, that this was total BS. The entire time they knew this. So we have new reporting. Colin, if you can bring up the Washington Post article, I will go through that. So this is new reporting as of the 12th of this month regarding November, last November. The Republican Party's top lawyer called election fraud arguments by Trump's lawyers a joke that could mislead millions. And this is important not only because it's inherently important, but Trump literally today posted that if he were to do a coup, this is a paraphrase, he would do it through an election. So let me continue here. The Republican Party's top lawyer warned in November against continuing to push false claims that the presidential election was stolen, calling efforts by some of the former president's lawyers a joke that could mislead millions of people, according to an email obtained by the Washington Post. Justin Reimer, the Republican National Committee's chief counsel, sought to discourage a Republican Party staffer from posting claims about ballot fraud on RNC accounts, the email shows, as attempts by Donald Trump and his associates to challenge results in a number of states, such as Arizona and Pennsylvania, intensified. What Rudy and Jenna are doing is a joke, and they are getting laughed out of court. Reimer, a longtime Republican lawyer, wrote to Liz Harrington, a former party spokeswoman, on November 28th. So this is 9 days after this press conference that I had attended, referring to Trump attorneys Rudolph W. Giuliani and Jenna Ellis. They are misleading millions of people who have wishful thinking that the president is somehow going to win this thing. The email from Reimer to Harrington, which came about 6 weeks before a pro-Trump mob stormed the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, shows key figures in the party were privately disturbed by the false claims being made about the election by Trump and his supporters, even if they did not say so publicly. So you guys can read this full article. It is an interesting and I think important read. But my point here is that it was important that we here at Status Quo were there that day, because we knew the danger and we didn't shy away from the danger. It's naive to think that all those corporate media journalists didn't see the danger there that day in that room. But they're so beholden to power and what they're supposed to do that they couldn't even call that out. That conspiracy-filled set of lies that was so obvious, they couldn't even bring themselves to call that out. So that is what I think that we here at Status Quo can pat ourselves on the backs for. And also, I think it highlights even more so how corrupt, the RNC is, the DNC, everyone. We all have to be on our toes.
Should I respond first with my lighter comment or more serious comment?
Go for lighter first, maybe. I don't know.
Based on the reports that have been coming out, I'm not sure that was hair dye coming down from Rudy. That might have been alcohol coming down from Rudy's head.
It was brown. I mean, he was sweating, I think, because of alcohol. I don't have reporting on that, but has been since reported that he was very drunk on election night, that he has a heavy drinking problem. So he was, I think, drinking excessively can make people sweat excessively. there was definitely like dye coming out of his head though, because of sweat. Like it mixed with sweat.
Well, I don't know if he's drinking whiskey, which is brown. Bourbon,
No, that's not how sweat works, Jordan.
Just go with it.
No. Okay, sure.
But on a more serious note, first off, Jen didn't get into it, but what is it? What are we? That was November, so what is that? 9 months later? I don't know. I mean, 9 months later, Jen is still suffering from covering that long haul COVID. I mean, I don't need to speak for you, but you're still suffering. And this was the first time recently you were able to even report in the field on our recent reporting trip, and that was not easy. I mean, it's not easy, period. Long haul COVID or not. Going on the road for 2 weeks, it's driving through 4 states, but particularly for you, it was not easy. But to me, what this Rudy Giuliani thing and what the RNC lawyer coming out now, it's about a bigger danger to me. And that is a danger that potentially is a life or death danger and might keep this country perpetually in a life or death situation for potentially years. And that is COVID, because, you know, it's not being covered as much anymore because a lot more people are vaccinated. But this same just complete, utter conspiracy, lunacy, batshit, QAnon, you know, just alternate reality that went behind that press conference and Trump and the election fraud stuff is exactly the same thing as these anti-vaxxers. And, you know, I had a conversation with somebody yesterday. I don't think you're a bad person if you haven't been vaccinated. But, I mean, I have one of my best friends hasn't been. I've argued with him, but he has his own reasons. But a lot of these folks that are not getting vaccinated, particularly Republicans, are not doing so based on this same exact thing. It might not be Rudy pushing you not to get vaccinated, but a lot of Republican legislatures around the country are anti-vaxxers. Even some governors are not strongly telling you to get vaccinated. Trump is not out there telling his people to get vaccinated, which doesn't make sense if you want to run again, because you kind of need your voters alive, right? And right now we're seeing it. I mean, everybody during this pandemic wants to play armchair scientist, and everybody knows more than everybody else. But the reality is there's a surge right now of COVID in this country all over, and it's predominantly in areas with low vaccination where people have not been vaccinated. Yes, for the devil's advocate, because the pushback we will get, well, Jordan, there are people vaccinated who are getting it too. Yes, that is true. The difference is it's like way, way, way lower in terms of people vaccinated getting it again, significantly lower. I don't have the data in front of me. And it's not deadly. I mean, maybe there's some breakthrough cases, but the vaccine prevents you from death. So that's why I said life or death. So, you know, people not getting vaccinated again, I'm not saying you're a bad person, but you could think, oh, there's a lot of propaganda out there about the vaccine, this and that. But, well, you can't argue. Are you arguing with these numbers that are going around? Are you numbers truthers too? Because this is all along the same Rudy Giuliani, Trump, and, you know, QAnon Republican Party axis. Whether it's the election fraud, the vaccines, it's all the same thing. And it's life or death. Because you want to know something? This is a mutating virus. So if this Delta variant keeps spreading and these same people refuse to get vaccinated, well, there's other mutations that could come up. And we're going to be playing this fucking dance possibly for years. I mean, as we have been live, Jen, LA County, Los Angeles County just is bringing back the indoor mask mandate for everybody, including being vaccinated. So this has life or death consequences. Frankly, it did have life or death consequences on January 6th. There was a Trump supporter who got shot. There were police who died. So, you know, I have criticized the CNN, MSNBC for covering January 6th, never 24/7, because at a certain point there are other things to cover. Yeah, you could do documentaries on the day, but it's very clear they're trying to keep it in the news, and they're trying to keep Trump in the news because their ratings have tanked when Trump left office. So that's why they're continuing every night doing more on January 6th and the fallout from January 6th and the commission. But that doesn't mean it's not important. It just shouldn't be covered 24/7 and exploding homelessness and mass evictions and the Breonna Taylor cover-up and Joe Manchin's corruption and 1,000 other things, the planet burning on fire, literally the Gulf burning on fire. That's not covered as much. But to me, this revelation for the Republican, the RNC lawyer, we need to have a lot more of those people start coming out, particularly on the vaccine. Because, I mean, what's next? The masks became politicized. Now a vaccine has become politicized. Like, pretty soon going to the bathroom is going to become politicized. And it has real life or death consequences. I'm not going to argue with like vaccine truthers or whatever. I just don't agree.
Well, I'll say a few things in response, unless you have a final. So I saw some comments. I won't, call anyone out specifically, but someone said, I'm going to maybe get the vax, but I want to wait to see the long-term side effects. Well, and saying like it's new, etc. So there's a few different ways that I'll address this. The first way is something that I will get into because I want to show you a tweet thread that I put up on the Status Quo account that, long story short, and again, I will go more in depth after I say this, but I caught COVID at this press conference for those who are new or who don't know. And Andrew Giuliani, Rudy Giuliani's son, someone saying my audio is bad. I turned it down because someone said it was too high, so I apologize. All right. So I caught COVID at this press conference. It came out in the news the next day that Andrew Giuliani, Rudy Giuliani's son, had COVID. So I immediately quarantined, and it turned out that I got it. And it was hard. It was really bad. I would text Jordan and be like, I'm really scared. This is scary, because Jordan had it months before. He had it the previous spring, and I was terrified. And by all accounts, it was like, okay, it'll probably go away in a couple weeks or a few weeks or whatever. It didn't go away. It just kept hanging on and hanging on. And at that time, we didn't know really anything about something called long COVID or long hauler COVID. And so that is what I have now. I still have COVID effects. And about 30% of those who get COVID end up with long hauler COVID symptoms. And just today, there is an international study released that showed that there are over 200 long hauler symptoms that could be present for people. So I won't get into my full list of symptoms. I'm working with the Johns Hopkins Long Hauler COVID Clinic, which I am exceptionally privileged and grateful that I not only live next to one of the only long hauler COVID clinics in the world, but that I have health insurance that covers it. So I'm very grateful for that, but it rocked my world. I was not able to return to reporting until a couple of months ago, basically at all, and certainly not in-field reporting until about last month. And I would cry in bed thinking, journalism's my purpose. Like, this is my role here on Earth, and it could be taken from me because of Rudy Giuliani. And I'm not saying like he deliberately gave me COVID. I'm not like blaming him for that, but I am blaming him for having a press conference in a very small indoor space at the height of COVID at the RNC building in DC. And I am blaming his son for having symptoms and attending that conference. And I am blaming the Republican folks there who thought masks were just not, not cool. They're being forced on us by the government, etc. Rudy and his team didn't wear masks. So it's been really difficult. It's been extremely difficult. I have 2 children who saw me in bed for about 6 months. And that's not how I want them to remember their mother. So I have a lot of thoughts behind this day. I don't regret this day going to this press conference, even though I caught COVID there and therefore long hauler COVID. But let's get into, so long story short, to address like the anti-vax people. Also, I want to point out that you're saying you want to wait and see what the long-term effects are. My point in bringing that up was the long-term effects. Look at the long-term effects of COVID. It ruined my life for a really long time. You can look back at the videos. I posted one video. Jordan had sent me a link. They were doing a CNN special on long hauler COVID. And so I don't know why, but I turned the camera, my computer camera on myself, and I recorded my in-time reaction to watching this. And I cried. It's really raw. It's really sad. I thought my life was over. So if you're talking about long-term effects from a vaccine, what about the long-term effects from COVID? We have the Delta variant now. Just as we have been live here, I got a pop-up news notification from, I think it was ABC, talking about the World Health Organization saying that more dangerous variants could be coming and could be already present. More dangerous and more easily transmissible than Delta? Delta is insanely transmissible. It's insanely scary. That is why LA has had to move back to masks. That is why, in the span of a week when I was last in New York City, they went from people being like very laissez about masks to masking again because of Delta. So it's waiting to see the long-term effects of the vaccine is not a great plan. I have to be honest with you. It's just not. I will probably always, and I don't just have long hauler COVID, I also have something, this was diagnosed by Johns Hopkins, called POTS. I never remember what it stands for. It's like postural orthostatic, whatever. You can look it up if you are so inclined, but I will probably have that forever. And it's not good. The last time I was with Jordan, I had a night where it got really scary. This was like 2 weeks ago. And I almost had to go to the hospital, and I didn't know how things were going to go. It was really bad. I was really, really, really sick. So I might, seem okay now. I'm not. I'm really not. So no, the long-term effects of the vaccine, it's nothing compared to this. And as far as it being a new vaccine, I think they should have done a better job of this PR-wise, but it's not really. Like what it's based on, the mRNA. So it's like I'm not a scientist by any means, but the mRNA has been like studied for 3 decades and like heavily like all in gung ho for the last decade. And that is what it is based on. So this is not, they didn't just like pull this vax out of their ass. Okay. This is based on technology and science that's been around for a very, very long time. Get the vaccine, if not for yourself, for others around you. I don't want to, make you feel guilty, but do you want to make a young healthy mother like me sick because you wouldn't get vaxxed? Do you want to make an elderly person die because you wouldn't get vaxxed? It's a no-brainer. I don't understand this mindset at all. I'm gonna show those tweets though, but if you have anything else to add before I do, Jordan.
Yeah, I'll say, I think there's a couple things you said that I want to expand on, and I don't want to trigger people because we're not really, our goal is not to shame anybody. There are some people that aren't getting the vaccine just because they're totally living on another planet. And, believe that the government's trying to poison them. But for the people that genuinely have concerns, I would say, like, I don't have long haul COVID, thank God. I don't know what Jen is going through, although I feel terrible and I've tried to support her. But even me.
You do have long-term effects.
Well, right. I don't have like long haul COVID as bad as you. But even me, I never had asthma. I now have asthma. Like, it's worse as the night goes on, but I've been coughing, which maybe I have to get a COVID test because coughing is, one of the symptoms. It kind of comes and goes. Frankly, even before COVID, I mean, I had my own issues health-wise, but like I've been noticeably more fatigued over the last few months than I was pre-COVID. So even if you get COVID and it doesn't kill you, you're not hospitalized, a lot of people, it develops other domino effect issues for you, whether it be asthma. Some people have kind of still don't have taste or smell back, like a year after having it. And, everybody's different. So, everybody, if your immune system was weak already, it could cause other issues. So to the point, like not knowing what to put in your body, well, you do know what, if you get it, what it could do to you. So like if there's the unknown versus the known, essentially it comes down to, you do know that it could kill you. You do know that if you get it and you're lucky enough to be asymptomatic, you could pass it off to somebody else and kill them. So at the end of the day, it comes down to a game of chance. You're willing to play the game of chance with your life and other people's life. And you should really think about, do you value yourself enough not to do that? Because your life shouldn't be, you should value your life and other people's lives well enough to simply, there's risk in everything. But as Jen said, this was not done in a year. It's based on research and a formula that was already underway for a decade. But at the end of the day, for example, I'm not going to get into details, but let's look. I'm newly married. Usually newly married people after a while want to try to have a kid, right? I have 2 nephews that I want to see more, particularly my niece, who I missed the first year and a half of her life due to COVID. I don't want to be around people that aren't vaccinated, and then I get it again. Maybe I don't feel any symptoms, but I get it again. I pass it to my wife, who, might be pregnant at that time. Who knows? Or I go to play with my nephew and niece. I pass it to them who aren't vaccinated because they're young. So it's not just about you. And again, I'm not like saying you're knowingly being selfish. I think Rudy Giuliani, and by the way, it wasn't just Rudy Giuliani, there was 4 or 5 people next to him not wearing masks at that press conference that Jen got it from. But I don't think anybody is trying to intentionally hurt anybody. But at the end of the day, don't forget, you're not just playing a game of chance for you. You're playing a game of chance for others too. And I don't think if you believe that the government or nobody has a right to tell a woman what to do with their body, then why would anybody have a right to get somebody else sick? It's not the same thing, but it's along the same principle. Nobody has a right to take away somebody else's choice. And I just hope this is going to perpetually go on if more people don't get vaccinated. And I really think if you're just looking at this from a simple game of risk, there's so much more risk that you're taking. I mean, I just saw an article with somebody who is now, I think, attached to a ventilator. And when he got out of it, he's still in the hospital, said, like, not getting vaccinated was the worst mistake of my life. I saw that article earlier. So, everybody has a choice, but at the end of the day, I said to one of my best friends who's not getting vaccinated, who's around his young nephew and nieces often, can you live with yourself if you give it to them? So he didn't really have an answer, but I hope he's thinking about it. Yeah. So anyway, there you go.
Yeah, and I want to say a few things that I saw in the comments. People are saying if you're vaccinated, so I saw this over and over, if you're vaccinated, why do you care if I am vaccinated? Well, so there's several reasons.
We just explained it.
Well, I think I think the government or whoever needs to do a better job of explaining this. No vaccine is a cure. No vaccine is a complete, like 100% certified shield. And so depending on which vax you got, it's well over 90% effective, and it's very effective against, so even if you get it, it's protective against getting like the most severe symptoms or ending up in the hospital. But the new Delta variant for Pfizer, which is the vax that I have, it goes down. So the Delta variant of COVID, which is the majority variant right now in the United States at this point, it's only 64%. Pfizer's only 64% effective against this Delta variant. So for me, who this is month 8 going into 9 of me suffering with COVID and being so sick that like I think like Jordan was like pretty worried about me that night at his house. Like, am I gonna have to take Jen to the hospital? Like, that is really scary for me to face. Like, even though I'm vaccinated, it's only 64% effective according to the latest studies against this new variant. So what am I supposed to do? You saying, you're vaccinated, why do you care if I am? I care because my chances of getting it are, decreased by me having the vaccine. But depending on the variant, I can still get it again and have my life ruined even more. And who knows what could happen this time? Who knows? It could be worse. Whatever. I don't know what could happen. Nobody has a crystal ball. But to say, like, why do you care if I have it is just a false point. And I think it's possibly like due to misinformation. Vaccines are not 100% effective. That's none of them. It's just not the case. So you have to keep that in mind. You are putting your others at risk. You are. That's just a fact.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
This comment right here, again, I'm not trying to put you on blast, but this is the mindset that's really destructive, I think. NG says, but here I am, no vaccine, no COVID. Yeah, well, guess what, NG? The majority of the cases right now in America had that mindset. Or said, no, whatever, I haven't gotten it. I'm invisible. I'm not, whatever. I'm not going to get it. And they're getting it in droves right now. So if you want to say, here I am, no vaccine, no COVID, if you think you're immortal, good luck. But in terms of, Vegas terms, it's a bad bet, man, or woman. It's a bad bet. And the other thing I'll say is, we're not like, I'm not necessarily saying like, what are they saying? Ivermectin or
Ivermectin. I have something to say on that too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a doctor. Nobody's a doctor here. Maybe there are other treatments that could help where you might choose not to get the vaccine because you think if you get COVID, there are treatments out there that could help you. Nobody fucking knows. There is not.
Nobody.
This is not enough. There is not enough time. There's not enough data to know what fully works, what doesn't. But all you could look at is the data we have had. The data is very clear. The majority of the cases are unvaccinated people. And by the way, the COVID vaccine was for COVID-19, not the Delta variant. So as Jen said, it doesn't completely protect you against the variant because it was for COVID-19, which is different than the Delta variant.
Well, so it's still COVID-19, but it's a variant of it. So yeah.
Right. My point is, it will protect you from death, which should be ultimately your goal. But if you don't care if you die, then maybe you don't think highly enough about yourself. That's a whole nother topic. But
yeah, and people saying like they're not playing Russian roulette with their life. These vax victims make me cry. Any person who has a side effect from a medication or a vaccination, yes, that is really sad, but it is just like indescribably small, the number of folks who have those reactions. There are also a lot of charlatans out there who are not actually having reactions, who really want to make a big push to make it seem like they are. And I'm talking about like magnetic spoons, if you guys are familiar with that video. So someone saying they're not playing Russian roulette with their life to get the vax, that is pure brainwashing. I'm really sorry to inform you that you are being brainwashed. If you want to go the conspiracy route, which I spend a hell of a lot of time, like a lot of time on conspiracy theory, like Reddits, and I'm big into reading conspiracies. Like it's like my chill time is like reading conspiracy theories. And so I know all of the vaccine conspiracies. I know all of the COVID conspiracies. I'm very, very well versed in what's out there. But you have to look at reality. And even if you want to be on this conspiracy train, which I understand our government sucks and is crazy and has done the most insane things ever, it always comes down to what is in the best interest of power when you think about a conspiracy and like who's pulling the puppet strings, right? So what's in the best interest of power? Having everyone sick and die, or fixing it with a vaccine so that people can start spending money again and so that they can make money?
you stole
That's
that.
what's in the best interest.
I told you about yesterday.
No, actually, I had that thought first, and you stole it from me and adopted it as your own. So
Okay. That's
we
fine.
can.
Go ahead.
I have receipts on this. I definitely thought of that. But and also, I want to say on the ivermectin thing, that's become another thing. I've had people say, why aren't you reporting on ivermectin like XYZ did? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you talking about ivermectin? And it's like, oh lordy, like guys, first of all, we're not doctors, we're not scientists. We go based on studies and by expert advice. I want to tell you that anyone who is like doing tons of videos on how ivermectin is like going to save the world of COVID is doing so not because they, have data that this is the case, because there's no data. There's some information, some very early information, and even some promising information that ivermectin could be effective in certain cases. I say, it's a cheap drug, whatever. If your doctor approves it, if a government or whatever approves it, sure, let's give it a shot. But it's not without consequences. It's not without side effects. I will also say, for those who are like, why aren't you reporting on ivermectin? I literally took 2 rounds of ivermectin. Am I covering this up? Am I covering up the magical wonders of ivermectin? No, I am not, because it didn't do anything for me. It didn't help me. It simply did not. You know what helped me? And this is a lot of long haulers have reported this. Getting the vaccine dramatically helped my long hauler. Dramatically. I would not be reporting, I would not be active if I hadn't gotten the vaccine. Does anybody know why? No, they don't. Johns Hopkins, the long hauler clinic, one of the top minds in this space, they don't know. They're researching, they're doing studies. They're doing peer-reviewed studies. Someone saying I'm a gaslighter, the safety profile of ivermectin is extremely safe. I literally just said I took it and I didn't have side effects. There are some side effects that can happen. It's not like totally safe. That's just like literally not true. Drugs have side effects. So you're insane. But the vaccine helped me dramatically. People don't know why, but that's my story. And I want to make it very clear that my story in saying that ivermectin did not help my long hauler and the vaccine dramatically did help my long hauler COVID should not be taken and run with as like medical information. It requires studies. One person's anecdotal information is not a study. That's why they do studies. That's why. So just because so-and-so on the internet told you that this is the case, that ivermectin is like sent from Jesus, that like maybe it is. Let's do some studies and find out. And maybe you can say that it's being covered up and conspiracy. Maybe, but it also didn't help me. So like I don't think, why are we yelling about the lack of coverage about ivermectin? I think in general we all need to like be more mindful of our sources and who is telling us what to do. Mark Bay, $5 Canadian in the super chat. This is an important info. I'm surprised and impressed. You went way beyond 99% of people with ivermectin. Yeah, I mean, as I said, I tried 2 rounds of it. I didn't have any negative effects. It also didn't help at all, literally not at all. So take from that nothing. Take from that literally nothing, because I'm one person, and that's not what a study is. So go ahead, Colin, and let's quickly read through these tweets.
Can I just point something out, Jen?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if this doesn't do anything for you, I don't know what will. I mean, this is from yesterday, 97.8. 97.8. So basically 98% of COVID deaths in Connecticut were from unvaccinated people. More than 650 Connecticut residents have died with COVID-19 since the state began broadly vaccinating against the disease, and nearly 98% of them were unvaccinated, data shows. So that's just one state. I'm sure other states will have similar, because also remember, just because you're not seeing a high death count, the deaths usually lag behind cases. So the death count starts going up more quickly after, a week or two after cases go up. So, I think that people can think what they want, but this is a pandemic, so there's risk no matter what. At a certain point, you got to decide what's the more risky thing, and the data shows the more risky thing for you and others, because again, it's not just about you.
Not me, us.
Is getting the vaccination. And the other thing I'll say, just to expand on what Jen stole from me, because I said it first. For all the folks that think there's a lot of propaganda out there about the vaccine and COVID, and like the government is trying to take our bodies or something like that, let me tell you, with 1,000% certainty, I would put every dollar in my account on this. The reason the government wants you to get vaccinated is very simple. Their donors want you to get vaccinated. The capitalist class wants you to get vaccinated. You want to know why? Because aside from Amazon and a couple other lucky criminals, most of the donors, most of corporate America didn't do so well during the pandemic. Quarterly profits didn't do so well. Small businesses didn't do so well, which banks, by the way, make money off small businesses by giving small business loans, which is another fraudulent scam in most cases. So the capitalist class, i.e. the United Corporations of America, Colin, if you could full screen me, you got the flag right there. The United Corporations of America, they want to get back to business. They want to get back to the business of screwing you. That fucking light bulb keeps falling. Excuse my French. I'll use Flint as an example. Why do you think the state government and the local government in Flint wanted to declare the water crisis over as quickly as possible? By pushing out bullshit data, by cheating on the water testing, which we exposed years ago, because they had to take a pause from their gentrification scheme, because investors and real estate developers don't really want to come to your neck of the woods if there's a raging water crisis. It's not really good for business. for gentrification. Extrapolate that to a pandemic. Biden, the Democrats, the Republicans, to a certain degree, less so, they want to get back to business, the business of plutocracy and the new Gilded Age, while giving you crumbs. And the best way to do that is to keep businesses open, to keep concerts open, to keep commerce open. That's how you do that. That's the reason they want people. I wish it was because they genuinely care about saving lives. That's not it, unfortunately. It's because they want the donors demand it. And by the way, for the opposite reason, look at the opposite here. Trump, besides being an evil, horrendous person, one of the main reasons that he did not shut down the country and delayed on that is because his donors were telling him not to. This has been reported. Donors to Trump and big business were pleading with him not to shut down the economy. So why would the opposite not be true? Why wouldn't they want to reopen and keep open the economy? So that's what's really going on here. So if you think it's like they're trying to put some chip in you, that's not the case. Let's show the article before we wrap, Jen.
Yeah, I also want to say, be careful. Once again, I'll reiterate where you get your sourcing from. A fairly prominent leftist journalist blocked me on Twitter for telling her that I have long hauler COVID. So just be careful out there. It's, I'm not bullshitting you. This destroyed my life. This really was a very difficult thing for my children, for me, for my career. This is not nothing. So take this seriously. Get the vaccine. Colin, if you can pull up the tweet thread that I did for Giuliani. Okay, so I started out this tweet thread on our Status Quo News Twitter. Follow us at Status Quo on Twitter. Make sure you do. So I started it out with, just the infamous, "You're a totally discourteous person," when Rudy yelled at me. And then in the next tweet, I go into talking about the breaking reporting from Washington Post that revealed what the RNC lawyer had said. So I wanted to read specifically the rest of the thread so that everyone sees it. So the third tweet in this thread, Status Quo's Jen was there because of the support of you, the viewer. You hold a piece of history in supporting an indie network that doesn't just sit there dumbly asking people like Giuliani, where are you going to file your next lawsuit, as he tries to steal an election for a dangerous man. And it goes on to say, it should also be said that this was a dangerous press conference for another reason. It was revealed after that Andrew Giuliani had COVID-19 at the presser. Several, including me, caught COVID that day due to Giuliani and RNC lack of care. Journalists were required to give our contact tracing info at the door upon entrance. So we literally wrote our names and our phone numbers down for contact tracing. Maybe you guys have done so in restaurants or wherever. But we were never contacted. Never. And I kept tagging the RNC and Andrew Giuliani in tweets at that time saying like, hey, you guys gonna contact folks? No? Okay, cool. So they never contacted us. Jen heard about Andrew's COVID on the news and immediately quarantined. This day, unfortunately, caused me to come down with not just COVID, but long hauler COVID and POTS, as diagnosed by the Johns Hopkins Long Hauler Clinic. 8 months later, and I still struggle with my health daily, and I've only recently been able to return to reporting. I said I would still go to that presser if given the choice to go back in time and choose again, because it mattered. It mattered to be the only outlet pressing against dangerous lies that threaten our semblance of democracy. And I hope you see that I carefully worded that tweet. I did not say threaten our democracy. But it is a striking example of how dangerous the GOP is. They have put our health and our facade of democracy at risk over and over again. those saying that the GOP and the Democratic Party are exactly equivalent are absolutely wrong, absolutely incorrect. They are both horrible, but the GOP not being in power is some risk mitigation, some harm reduction. If that had been a Chuck Schumer conference, of course everyone would have been masked and it would have been outside, or it never would have happened. It wouldn't have happened because they wouldn't have pushed that kind of election conspiracy theory. We all know about Russiagate, which I fairly brought up in my questioning to Rudy Giuliani. I go on to say, we here at Status Quo will continue to hold power to account. We will continue to report truth. We will continue to go out in the field and investigate stories that matter. We're small and independent, and we're powered not by insidious forces, but by everyday people. And that's what keeps us doing reporting just like this, just exactly like what Jordan showed you at Amazon, which is the Rockfin exclusive, rockfin.com/status quo, and what you saw in the Rudy clip. So please, if you haven't already, join as a member of Status Quo for just $5 a month and get great behind the scenes perks, including From This Day with Rudy. So you could see the video I shot directly after this so-called confrontation with Rudy, where he called me a discourteous person for actually pressing him. You'll also get access to our Discord chat, which is a lot of fun. You guys love chatting in the, on the live stream. You can keep that conversation going in the Discord for members only, statusquo.com/join. You can also, if you're already a member or are so inclined, have the funds. You can also support us and keep us in the field, keep us holding power to account by supporting our GoFundMe reporting fundraiser. We don't just sit in a studio, we go out where it matters, and your support does mean a lot. It truly does. GoFundMe.com/status quo.
Amen. I couldn't agree more. And I think that, unfortunately, I don't think that crazy Rudy Giuliani press conference is going to be the last of that kind.
No.
And as Levon $4.99 in the super chat points out, the Yankees Red Sox game just got canceled tonight because COVID is running rampant through the Yankees organization.
Wow.
So again, I read that article. I think at the moment, 3 Yankees players who have been fully vaccinated now have it.
Wow.
The Delta variant is significantly bad in New York right now.
Yeah.
So again, it doesn't mean you're not going to get it again. But if you have a whole lot of unvaccinated people getting it in much bigger numbers, you're going to have more vaccinated people getting it from those unvaccinated people. Mm-hmm. But these Yankees players have a much, 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 much greater chance of essentially being ill, but nothing worse than temporarily ill. So it's up to you guys.
Hopefully they could pass it to someone else who isn't vaccinated, and the world, the country spins into devastation even more.
And by the way, we're already a year and a half into this. Like, if this continues and people don't get vaccinated or whatever, I mean, we're going to get so far behind. There's going to be God knows how many variants, and we're just going to be doing this for the next decade or two. So really think about it and try to take it out of political terms and just being a contrarian to be a contrarian. The truth is, the numbers are the numbers. If you truly don't believe the numbers of the cases and how many people are dying, then I don't know how to debate that level of suspicion, because that's a little out there. I mean, we've seen it. I've seen it on the road. I was at a lot of these cult suicide rallies, Trump rallies, where nobody was wearing a mask, and they were like packed like sardines. Mm-hmm. And in those cities and those states, COVID was going through the roof. So anyway, I think that's all. Remember to sign up for Rockfin. We're 50 paid subscribers away from 100. So we're at 50 now. We want to hit 100. And once we hit 100 on Rockfin, that will kick in more guaranteed revenue for us from Rockfin. So definitely, if you can sign up, rockfin.com/status quo. We love our status quo members too. So we should be having our monthly members call later. I think we're doing another one this month, right?
Yeah, we'll set a date and let you guys know. We're gonna do an extra one because we're in the field and we're a bit behind, and we also just love chatting with you guys. So join statusquo.com/join to get in on that members call, and we'll tell you ASAP. It's basically like an AMA style members call. It's really a lot of fun. We have a lot of laughs, and we tell you way too much information, especially Jordan, who needs some muzzle sometimes.
Sign up, statusquo.com/join for $5 a month, and we'll end with Chris. Go ahead. Chris's super chat. Think you missed my super chat. What do you think of a lot of QAnons saying Trump is going to become president again August 13th? Few things, Chris. One, this gave me an idea. I want people to be honest.
Jordan's going to become president on August.
I want people to be honest. Would people listen to a podcast called Pooanon?
Oh, come on, no.
Would people listen to a podcast called Pooanon? Because I'm thinking about doing it. Branching off of politics and starting my own digestive
constipation
podcast. And I think it could be huge.
Like Constipod or something.
I think it could go to Chapo Trap House levels in terms
Wow,
of
that's
a
really
following. So let me know if you're down with Pooanon or not. But to your question, what do I think? I think it's crazy and absurd. And I'm sure maybe there will be some rallies around the country for this ridiculous day. But August 13 is probably just going to be another day of the planet burning. But Donald Trump will not be returning to anything.
No, yeah, and so there are some.
That's funny.
What?
Somebody did like a play on the Constitution with constipation.
Oh, that's actually cute. But there are a lot of QAnon Reddit, subreddits, and often about like how people have lost their family members to QAnon. Like they literally can't. They try to connect with their family, but their family members are just like gone from this Q stuff. And people truly and honestly believe that Donald Trump in August is going to be named president again. I wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump is buying into this because he's Donald Trump. Obviously, that's not the case. That's not going to happen, no matter what Sidney Powell and friends try to tell you. But I think the wider thing here is that QAnon, whether it keeps the name Q or what, is a major, major moment in history. And it can't be undercounted of its importance and how it's literally brainwashed people into thinking that impossible things are not only possible, but literally going to happen. So I want everyone, and I hope everyone can be careful. I do think it's important to arm yourselves with information about QAnon, and I think it's dangerous, and I think it's not unlikely that something like another January 6th could happen again. It's not unlikely at all. So be careful. We were screaming about QAnon, about really extremist Trump supporters, extremist right-wing folks in the Trump sphere before the insurrection happened. And then it happened, and we were right. I wish we weren't, but we were. So be careful. It's still a huge problem, and it's still really scary. And if these people who believe so strongly that Donald Trump is going to be inserted in August, if that doesn't happen, people could lose their minds, and not just their minds, but their capacity to be part of society. So it could become dangerous and violent.
I should have said, I think there's a better chance of Al Gore being reinstated as president. With that said, have a great day or night. We'll see you back tomorrow. Bye
Kind of a
bye.
weird sign off, Jordan. We love all of you.
I've
Join
been holding a
Status
pee for about an
Quo.
hour.
Me too.